Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Longevity Blueprint Strategies for Biological Youth. We are thrilled to have an expert in the field of nutrition with us, dietitian Ujjwala. With a deep passion for enhancing lives through optimal health, she focuses on preventing diseases and building strong nutritional foundations. She is a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, and holds a postgraduate diploma in dietetics and applied nutrition. Bringing extensive experience in both medical and sports nutrition. As we dive into the insightful session, please do drop your questions in the chat box, question box. We'll take them up at the end. Now over to you, Ujwala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kashish. Now, it gives me immense pleasure to be on this platform and share my insights that I have picked up over the last 20 years of my experience, not only in India but also abroad. I've lived in Singapore, and what I have observed is definitely the environmental factors, the way we live each and every day matters a lot in anti-aging. The average lifespan in India is about 70 years, 70 to 75 years, wherein in Singapore, when we are looking at an elderly at a 70 years of age, he still has high hopes of living for another couple of decades. What makes that difference? You know, that's what I'm going to share about. Definitely, we're not going to talk about much in Singapore out here because we are Indians living in India, and my focus is to bring what the difference in food, attitude, environment that we have observed amongst the people across the globe, right? Now, very importantly, we all need to understand, and I'm trying to keep it as interactive as possible because I need to understand the understanding of audience. I need to know what's the audience's understanding is about aging. What do you think aging is? So, can we keep it interactive?
Yes, Ujwala. So we have a question box, and the audience, whenever they feel like, they can post questions.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm not able to see that right now. So let me
I'll read
just,
that out for you
sure,
once
sure.
the question comes in.
I want to ask certain questions, like for example, what's the understanding that the audience has about aging? Will I get to hear people answering that?
No, ma'am. So your audience is muted, and
Okay,
you have to just go with the flow. And in case they would have any questions, we'll address that in the end.
sure. So when we talk about aging, now in general, when we think of aging, what happens? Aging starts right at the, at the time the baby is born, because the child is becoming from a 0 years to 1 year, 1 month, 2 months, and then landing up to 1 year, 2 years, right? That is also aging. But in true sense, we are looking at aging, which actually starts at the age of 20 around. Okay. Now, what is aging per se is what we are going to talk and understand first. When we are looking at aging, we are really looking at something that we are looking at biological age and the chronological age. So if somebody is at the age of 40, especially in India, we are wanting that at least the person looks like a 40-year-old, be it a male or a female. However, we also know that a 40-year-old may look and feel younger because of the lifestyle changes that they have made in order to look younger. So if they are very conscious, health conscious, then definitely their life will, they will look younger. They will not look like 40. And you may have seen people who compliment each other saying, oh, you don't look like your age. That is the chronological age that we are talking about. But what makes one person older? Okay, there are individuals who are much older than what their age, chronological age is. So if somebody is at the age of 40, that person may feel like a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old. How? Because that person may feel breathless, or they may be experiencing a lot of health issues, not helping them to keep up with the daily routine. That is what we are going to focus much more on. We are going to focus on helping you to elevate your biological age, because that is what is going to help you to live longer and not just the numbers on paper. Now, we also know that there are individuals who have a faulty lifestyle, but they are blessed to live longer. But very few of them that we know of, right? Most of them are all that we know of have taken some kind of care with respect to their environment, to their food habits, to their lifestyle. They may be sleeping early, they may be taking less stress, but something is there in their daily routine which prevents them from biologically aging and prevents them from seeing the repercussions of daily health problems. Okay, now when we are thinking of aging, we are really looking at the functions that we are able to perform on a daily basis. When we are just looking at a physical appearance of a person, aging means it could be just looking at a facial skin, wrinkles, dark spots, pigmentation, dryness of the skin, saggy skin, or just about, the person looking older than their age is a sign of aging. So just not the face. Okay, hair thinning is another aspect of aging. It could be also something to deal with the entire body. We know that people who are aging in general, they would also experience a lot of breathlessness. They would come up with health problems which they felt that their parents developed. So for example, we have individuals who are developing diabetes at the age of 40, but in their parents or in their grandparents it came up in the age of 60s or 70s. What is happening in that case? In that case, the diabetes itself hit them at an earlier age, specifically because yes, they had a genetic predisposition. At the same time, they were having certain lifestyle choices, they were making certain lifestyle choices that pushed them towards the health problem much sooner. So the gun was already loaded with the bullets. The gun of diabetes was already loaded with the bullets, empowered by the genes coming from their parents or the grandparents. Now it is on the individual whether to pull the trigger. The trigger can be pulled if the person is stressed, does not take care of their stress, if the person is eating faulty dietary habits, has faulty dietary habits, does not take care of it, is sleep deprived most of the times, especially because either too much of workload or he's just too addicted to screen nowadays. That's one of the major reasons why sleep deprivation is coming into play very often. And then lack of exercise. So when someone chooses to live such kind of lifestyle and make such kind of lifestyle choices, we are naturally increasing our biological age. So a person at the age of 40 may look like a person at the age of 50, and the person and everybody else would be startled that, oh, okay, he's that young, but why does he or she look so old? Because they are just too stressed. So I'm going to share some secret codes today that you all can take away as messages and start implementing to do action steps. And if, of course, something gets missed out, you all can definitely ask questions in the end. Now, when we are also looking at aging, one term that I would want everyone to take note of is telomere. Okay, telomere is nothing but the length of the DNA. We all know that we have DNAs in our body in order to function, and the DNAs come with certain codes which are powered by our parents or grandparents, generational codes, right? DNA codes. Now the DNA length gets shortened when somebody is into faulty lifestyle, is in a stressful environment. The DNA length goes short. That is a telomere. Okay, when we talk about a DNA length, it is called as telomere. We, in terms of anti-aging, want to make sure that the telomere is kept long as much as possible, and there are ways to keep it long and keep up with aging in a beautiful way. So how does a telomere can be lengthened or being kept as is, but not, and actually avoid the fragmentation of the telomere into small bits and pieces? That's what in general is a damage, cell damage. In very simple terms, it is cell damage. When a DNA and the cells of it depart and become fragmented, that means the person is becoming more aged as per their chronological age. Now, definitely, when the diet is impaired, is not in the right zone, a person can cause aging to himself or herself, right? Now, my role out here as a dietitian is to help you with tools that provide longevity, fight the oxidative stress and inflammation. We are going to talk about foods that cause inflammation and anti-inflammatory foods that prevent inflammation inside the system. Why are we talking about inflammation out here when we are talking about anti-aging? We are talking about an anti-inflammatory diet, especially because we want to anti-age. And which are these key factors, which are the secret codes that I'm going to share today, is something that you got to be patient about, because that's something that will help you to anti-age. Okay, my job today is also to help you understand that yes, we as an audience need to make sure that we focus on activities and lifestyle measurements in such a way that we repair and regenerate ourselves. Intermittent fasting, yes, it does help, but with my personal experience of clients all across the globe, I have realized intermittent fasting is not for all. As much it does reduce inflammation and improves metabolism, it can worsen certain hormonal imbalances and certain anxieties in people, causing more of stress, physical stress, biological stress, than helping them. So it is definitely something that needs to be done under a healthcare professional. That's what my conclusion for the intermittent fasting would be. Yes, intermittent fasting also helps to boost cellular repair. So, from an anti aging aspect, it is perfect. But yes, we as individuals, when we want to anti age, we have to also take along and consider our body's limitations. So, if somebody is anxious and still wanting to anti age, still wants to look younger, they need to consider that intermittent fasting may trigger their anxieties and may not be helpful as much younger they may look. So there are two different aspects. A person who looks younger does not mean is 100% fit and fine. That person may be struggling with mental health issues, right? Now we are going to focus on also on certain anti-aging foods. This is just a gist of what I'm going to share later. Very importantly, we got to focus on environmental factors and aging. It's not just the food. It is also what you think, what you eat, how you live each and every day, how active you are, and how you sleep. All that matters. And in between these 12 to 14 hours that you spend active, what are you exposing yourself to? What are the environmental factors? There is a concept of particulate matter. Particulate matter is means that the finer the particles in the air of dust, of pollutants, of harmful gas emissions, of as simple as vehicle emissions. When these fine particles enter our body systems, they create inflammation. They cause our cells to damage. Okay, the cells become damaged and it reduces further the telomere length. So we are going to understand the purpose. The end purpose is to keep intact the telomere length. And how do we do that? Is with making sure that we do not expose or we try to limit our exposure to harmful emissions, to forest fires. Of course, we are all living in cities and we do not have this exposure of forest fires, but still, when we have some fire around our systems, we got to make sure that we cover our mouth, our nose, to prevent those minute particles enter our systems and cause inflammation as well as aging. Okay, water and food contamination, heavy elements in water. You must have heard of Kangen water, you must have heard of alkaline water. What do? They help to reduce the heavy elements in the water and prevent inflammation. Hence, they are so rich. That water is so rich. People know that the water from the Himalayas, the water, the spring water, when one drinks it, it is an energizer for the cells. Why? Because they are not having heavy trace elements. And plus they are rich in antioxidants, they are rich in minerals. Hence that water is so purified, is so naturally purified, and it is so preferred. But being in cities, we are unfortunate to get this kind of water on a daily basis, and we are bombarded with a lot of chemicals that are used to treat water and keep it safe for our consumption. However, as informed individuals, if we choose to consume water which is more alkaline, or we take measures in order to alkaline our water that we consume, we tend to reduce the heavy elements in our systems. We got to, like I said, we got to reduce the exposure in the house, outside the house, by planting trees. We got to increase the carbon, reduce the carbon print. How do we reduce the carbon print? By eating less of meat. When we consume too much of meat on our plate causes acidic pH on our causes acidic pH in our system. Also increases the carbon print in the environment, because to produce about a kilo of meat on for human consumption, loads and loads of farms and forests are eradicated. So we as consumers need to also consider that aspect. We got to make sure that avoiding plastic containers. Nowadays, what's happening, every day we are exposed to plastic bottles in the office. Okay, we don't want to fill up bottles, our own bottles. We tend to forget to carry our own bottles. So what happens in seminars and conferences, people are now stocking plastic containers, plastic bottles filled with water, and they just drink half of it and throw away. So much of wastage of water, so much of plastic pollution that we are creating on the environment, such a heavy load that we are creating, and that's not helpful, not for the environment, not for us. I have seen clients, I have seen individuals carrying plastic tiffins to their offices to carry their meals, hot meals in the morning, hot breakfast, hot rotis, dal, sabzi, all put in plastic containers and carried to the office, because glass containers become heavy to carry, and plastic containers with the airtight lid becomes an easier option. However, you all should know, as audience out here today, that plastic containers exposed to hot foods can be carcinogenic and cause aging. So nothing, cancer is also a form of aging, wherein the cells are not able to keep up with the age of what they need to be, and they're bombarded with a lot of chemicals, with other factors, and that's why the cancer as a sign of aging also happens. Now we have lifestyle habits of longevity. We are going to look into the various aspects, not just the food, not just the pollutants, but what else that you do or don't do, which actually cut short your age. So somebody, this is a very generic question that I always ask all my clients, whoever joins into the program. I'll always ask them that what is the age. So if they are at the age of 50, I will ask them, what is the age that you're looking up to live up to? What's the age that you can think of living? And they would be like, I don't know what's the age that I can be asked, like I'll be blessed with. But yes, I know, looking at the blood reports, if the blood reports show certain factors, certain alarming factors, definitely for me, it becomes a responsibility to tell them that yes, you can increase your age. You can, if your blood reports right now shows that you may live just for another decade, you can very well make efforts in order to live another couple of decades. And yes, it's in your hands. You cannot just leave everything on destiny. Yes, accidents are something that we cannot control, mishaps we cannot control, but apart from that, if you were to follow a good diet, lifestyle, and focus and aspire, intend to live longer, if you have the manifestation attitude, definitely, why not, you will live longer. But like I said earlier, we all want to live longer, but not like a vegetable in our old age. We want to age gracefully and beautifully, and for that we need to ensure that we take measurable steps today itself, today onwards, so that we have a beautiful life ahead laid for us. It has been shown that when a person is physically active, sleeps well for 7 to 9 hours, and is mentally happy, they tend to build positive environment within their body cells. They nurture their body cells when they are doing this. So somebody who thinks that okay, they had a long weekdays at office, they were like awake late night, or they were on an international call trying to match US timings, completely opposite work hours, what can they do? And then generally this is an act that I have observed, that people try to catch up on sleep on the weekend. It's a good idea for sure, but does the 5 days of damage can the 5 days of damage be fixed in the next 2 days of weekends by just sleeping? And is it possible to sleep for so long hours that you completely cut off from the social connections? Because, of course, if you are so busy 5 days a week in your business meets or your official meets, and the next 2 days of the weekends you want to just rest and be by yourself, where is the emotional connection? Where is the social connection apart from your office meetups? You got to understand that connecting back with your friends, school friends, your college friends, or anybody in your society, in your premises is so very important, because once you start connecting, you build stronger relationships, and those strong relationships also are very important to nurture a longer life. So when somebody is so disconnected from the society, they are just working 24/7 round the clock, and they just have lost a lot of social connections because they don't have the time. I was at this point at a certain age, maybe a decade back, when I was so aggressively working, and I had forgotten that yes, connection in the society is so essential. I just thought that work hard, and I wanted to have certain goals which were achieved, but yes, for that there was a lot of sacrifice given on social connects, and that did not help me later, and I realized it soon, and it then was a reverse action taken. I started connecting with people on a daily basis. Somehow or the other there was some connection that was made, so that my mental health level rises. I am more happier. I feel lighter, because when we connect with office friends, we definitely tend to talk about something else. We talk about different perspectives of life, but that doesn't come only when you're stuck to your office workspace. When you are stressed, you are actually causing aging. Okay, so if you're totally drenched in work, you are actually accelerating your aging process. So some you may think that, oh wow, I'm eating the best of the food, I'm eating avocado every day, I'm using olive oil, I'm using the most expensive ingredients, I'm eating the best quality of food, I'm eating everything organic, I'm exercising every day an hour, I'm sleeping well, but then what's happening? The stress, if it is rising high, be it workload stress, be it exam stress in students, that can trigger your cortisol levels. Do you know that increased cortisol levels are shown to increased cortisol levels are seen naturally in individuals who sleep late in the night? At the same time, if you have to perform after a heavy night wherein you had been awake, maybe watching some Netflix series, or you were just chilling, you thought that today is the day when I want to just relax and be big on screen time, which compromised your sleep hours in the night, eventually increases your cortisol levels in the next morning. And then you want to have your cup of coffee or tea next morning itself in order to kickstart your day. It's not a good idea. If you are into this kind of a routine wherein you're sleeping late in the night and waking up and to be awake the whole day, you're trying to dunk in a lot of teas and coffees, black coffees, to keep yourself fit and fine, to keep up your metabolism. Again, not a good idea. Why? Because all these acts of sleeping late and waking up and keeping yourself awake for teas and coffees increases cortisol levels, which increases aging. So if you thought that having 6 glasses or 6 cups or mugs of black coffee throughout the day helps you, not really. It is going to spike up your cortisol levels because you're trying to beat against the body's rhythm of wanting to sleep. You're just trying to give it a stimulant which will try to keep your brain active, but your body cells are really starving for sleep. Okay, when we do this, we are also weakening the immune system, causing inflammation at a cellular level, and this triggers inflammatory response, causing damage to our DNA. Eventually, when somebody is getting more forgetful, they are fatigued, they have a poor memory or weaker immunity, falling sick very often in the office, they have wrinkles on their face, it's surely a sign of aging. So, like I mentioned earlier, mental health and aging is a very important aspect. So you cannot completely cut off from the world outside just because you want to work harder and you are now focusing only on your business partners and business meets. You got to build a connection with the people in your house. There are individuals who may talk very rudely to their family members, but they're very nice and kind to their office or business partners. if you are the kind of person, and if you have seen that this is a kind of a trait that is coming up, it could be because of stress. You need to talk it out with your partners, with your family members, that I need some kind of help in supporting my mental health because I'm getting very irritable. And when you get irritable, you tend to bombard people, you tend to not feel good within, and again you're creating an environment of stress within your body, for which you need to make sure that you start reading, learning new skills, focus on yourself a little bit more, be mindful, and meditate as much as possible. So yes, going on a coffee with your friends, with your old friends, school friends, definitely is a total different ball game than just going on coffees and teas with your business partners. So yes, that's a very quick and innovative stress management technique that I've shared. That if you have got disconnected, try to connect this weekend with your friends and family. Try to reach out to somebody who wanted to connect with you, but you'd never had the time to go back to them. Just have a casual talk. Just laugh and have a light time rather than thinking about business and numbers. Yeah. Why? Because this will release good good mood hormones such as serotonin. It will induce good sleep. It will induce release endorphins, feel good factors, and in a way it's the same hormone. The endorphins are the same hormones which are released after the workout. So meeting a friend over a coffee on light conversations definitely reduces your stress hormones. So, like I had mentioned earlier, we are focusing on the biological age in this concept of anti-aging, because whatever the numbers are there, chronological age, you got to make sure that you try to look younger than what your age is, or at least be functional enough at the age appropriate, right? You definitely don't want to feel older at your age, right? So because of that, we are looking at making sure that the telomere length is good, intact, and inflammation levels are down. So how to reduce this biological age? Like I had mentioned, um, for a younger body age, you have to eat a balanced diet, regular exercise, stress management, and prioritizing sleep and recovery, which in a way increases cognition, increases your lifespan, increases the life quality. And of course, if you don't listen, you consider this as another seminar that you got to attend just for the sake of attendance, then what will happen eventually? Your cognition will decline, your lifespan will go down, your brain diseases may start kicking in because you were not taking action at the right time. So it's never too late to take action, but don't think that okay, today I don't have any problem, so why should I even take care of it? There are individuals, like just day before, I was at a birthday party, and there was somebody who was sitting across me, and she said that I can do everything, but I can't control my diet. I can't just eat. So generally, looking at me as a dietitian, everybody would like to share their diets and talk about their food. And this girl was like, I would love to take care of my diet, but I just cannot. I can't control the portions. I can't control the items that I want to eat, and I love my cold coffee. And in my recent content on the social media, I have also shared a lot about how inflammation kicks in. What is inflammation? You all should go and watch it out, because it's an add-on information that I am sharing here, but it is just building on there. So let's decode the longevity secrets. What are the longevity secrets? Best anti-aging foods that you got to work on, and this is something that I'll be sharing, and essential supplements for longevity. Now, it is essential to know that supplements are not a wrong idea to consume. Now, I've had individuals who don't mind taking antacids, who don't mind taking trifla, but they do ask me questions that, ma'am, is it all right if I were to take vitamin D supplements? Is it all right? Do I really need to consume B12 supplements? So the question in my mind runs is that people are very okay to take antacids, they are very okay to take over the counter pills, because they just feel that, in cases of women, they are very fine with taking um, uh, pills to prevent pregnancy and conception, but at the same time they don't know what harm they are doing, what harm you are doing by taking those antacids. Let me give you a real life case study. Now, there was this girl who was taking Pantocid every day because she used to experience acidity. If not for every day, she said minimum I will take it at least once in 3 days because I can't tolerate the food that is cooked at home. It's very spicy, and I love spicy food, so I am not able to cut down on the spiciness of the food. And she didn't mind taking antacids every third day. She knew that that would be a pattern of her body, and she was very okay with it till the time when she started experiencing a lot of lack of energy. She experienced a lot of mental health decline, like she could not remember things, and she was so famished with energy that at a point she felt that maybe she's developed cancer, because all what she knew about cancer was the person tends to feel very weak and cannot perform their daily functions. So when she reached out to me, we realized that her diet was big on foods that were causing inflammation in her system. And she had this question that, oh, do I really need to take supplements? But she didn't mind taking those antacids. She didn't mind taking a cup of ice cream every night with her husband. She used to go for a date with her husband post settling her family, so that they both could have their me time. But at the same time, what damage did she cause to herself? She actually created a zone in her system wherein, although she was consuming a lot of sugar, she was consuming 5 to 6 cups of coffee in a day to keep up with the energy levels, and she still could not understand why, in spite of consuming ice creams and teas and coffees and cookies, she was not able to match up her energy levels, not able to perk them up. And what we realized is there was a lot of inflammation that reflected in her blood reports. Yeah, eventually causing bone and immunity breakdown. So, um, we know that exercise is important, it is key. We need to work harder towards exercise. So it doesn't mean that you have to spend 1.5 hour 2 hours in the gym. Not really. You even just spending 10 minutes of exercise, as simple as exercises that we did in our childhood, that were taught in school, simply just raising our hands and touching our toes, moving our body side by side, moving our arms side by side. These are the basic exercises that you can do on a daily basis. You need not spend in an expensive class. There are tons and tons of videos on YouTube that you can choose to select and use it for your 10 minutes or 30 minutes. So based on the duration that you want to choose, you have in your hand. Like for example, you want to start your day with the work, but you know that yes, you can squeeze in 10 minutes of exercise right in the morning, and that's the best time that you can actually work out. So this is also a frequently asked question, that when is the best time to work out? In my opinion, the best time to work out are in the mornings. But yes, for diabetes individuals, we still need to take care of, because sometimes their sugars may drop, and further exercise on an empty stomach can disrupt their hormonal balance. Otherwise, if you're good to go with no diabetes, you can definitely start working out in the morning itself, because that sets the tone for the day. Your endorphins, good hormones, are released. Your appetite is controlled very naturally. Yes, exercising increases the hormone leptin, which controls the hunger, whereas it and reduces the ghrelin hormone, which increases hunger. So we need to have a balance amongst these two hormones. And if you are sedentary, you will realize that you tend to eat much more than required. Constantly your mouth is chewing upon something. You need something to chew upon, simply because your brain is not controlled. You're not able to control on your appetite, on your diet. Yeah, when we sleep enough, we are resetting our body's hormonal balance. Now people want to compromise on this because they feel, like I said earlier, me time. But me time is not something that we can use as an excuse to compromise the sleep, because when we do that, we are actually compromising. When we compromise on sleep, we are compromising on our growth hormones and melatonin. Now, which are the very important hormones which are released during deep sleep? And there might be individuals out here in this session who would know that yes, melatonin is a hormone nowadays available in the form of capsules, tablets, and even certain films, to be just kept, dissolvable films kept under the tongue in order to uh, get deep sound sleep. But why not fix the problem of lack of sleep, or not able to match enough hours of sleep right in the by sleeping, creating a sleep hygiene? What do you need to do? In order to create a sleep hygiene, you need to make sure that you start winding up your work 1 hour prior to your sleep time. So if you want to sleep at 11 p.m., you got to wind up your work at 10 p.m. uh, you can go for a quick shower. wear a subtle fragrance if at all you want, or some essential oil. The people who struggle with sleep, and I know out here in this room of audience, 50% minimum individuals may be struggling with sleep. And if somebody were to come to me and ask that what is it that I need to fix first in order to fix my life, fix my health, I would always say that sleep is the primary factor that you need to work on, after which the diet will start coming in place. Because it's no point somebody who's sleep deprived and has a high sugar craving, which is a very common phenomenon. So if you have high sugar cravings, maybe your sleep is very compromised. And in order to control your sugar cravings, I can't tell someone that, okay, you can just cut down on the sugar, eat less sweet. It is not going to happen if the person does not sleep well. Sleeping enough will help to control your diet very naturally in some way. It will help to reduce your sugar cravings and the cravings for highly flavored foods such as French fries, chips, and some kind of milkshakes and thick shakes. We also need to understand that social and cognitive longevity involves calls for a lot of mental math, mental games. So just don't consider that this is only for the kids. Try to engage each other with some certain games. Try to do some activities in house, in your offices, in your house. Play some family games, but yes, do not ignore it. And there are tons and tons of ingredients out there which state that if you were to consume this collagen, if you were to consume it, helps to build on the skin cells and much more, but in my opinion, if you were to just do the basics, have your basics fixed, your foundations laid down very well, eventually you don't need to land up into anti-aging pills or longevity pills, right? Now, the very important factor that I wanted to share about the foods that need to be, because I can't leave this room without sharing the essential foods that cause inflammation. The four foods that cause inflammation, cause aging, is, like I said with the case study, sugar. Foods consumed with high sugar content. That means in a day you're allowed just 1 teaspoon of sugar to be consumed. But if you're consuming more than 1 teaspoon, that is 5 grams, if your food content in the day has more than 5 grams of sugar, definitely you're pushing yourself towards aging. Okay. The second factor which causes inflammation is fried foods. When we are, so somebody would say, oh, I'm just eating oats, I'm trying to make oats cookies, I'm trying to make healthiest breads, but anything which is treated at high temperatures, be it oil, be it carbohydrate ingredients, starch, anything that you treat at high temperatures is going to create an inflammation inside the body with the healthiest of the ingredients. The third ingredient that causes, and you will be surprised to know that yes, if you were to consume dairy in large amounts in order to keep up with the protein intake, so this is very commonly found in vegetarians. Vegetarians tend to eat a lot of paneer, um, probiotics in the form of yogurt, and they want to consume a lot of dairy per se. And to top it all, which is the key ingredient nowadays people are bringing in their homes in order to increase the protein, and especially if they're be it a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, protein powders, whey protein. Now we need to understand that milk per se naturally is acidic in pH. So is lemon juice. However, when milk is consumed, the milk, when it enters our digestive system, it still calls for a lot of digestive work to be done. Okay, it's an acid which enters the stomach, uh, comes in contact with the stomach acid, and eventually so it can create some kind of subtleness in your acidity, but is not a quick fix. So people don't who do not want to consume antacids and have acidity issues, they feel that okay, having a glass of milk in the night helps to resolve their acidity issues. It may be doing it as a temporary fix, but eventually you're still building acidity in your body. However, if you were to start your day with a lemon juice, a glass of water with lemon juice, warm lemon juice, it really helps to elevate your health, because the acidic pH of the lemon juice and the acidic pH of the stomach acid, which is definitely higher in the mornings on an empty stomach, together becomes alkaline, and it helps our cells to thrive. It helps our cells to go anti-inflammatory, and it boosts immunity. That's the reason why the power of lemon water in the morning is so much sung upon since ages. It's not a myth. It is a fact that if you were to start your day on an alkaline note, it sets the tone for your good health in the rest of the day. The fourth thing that you got to make sure that if you were to work on an anti-inflammatory diet, apart from sugar, apart from starch, that is too much of carbohydrates, apart from the fourth aspect is spicy foods. You may love spicy food, you may love the flavors, but yes, you need to tone it down, because eventually you are disrupting your digestive system, your gut health. When you disrupt your gut health, you are creating a space in your cells, in your body cells, to invite and to accept and keep the foreign particles. So for example, somebody whose immunity is strong will be able to fight the foreign particles if they enter through food or through air. However, somebody whose body systems are weak because the diet is not so strong, their body cells are not able to fight off the infections, and they will fall sick very often. Hence, you got to make sure that you ditch these anti-inflammatory foods, and you rather bring in, sorry, you ditch these inflammatory foods, and you rather bring in anti-inflammatory foods in the form of berries. If you were to consume, here are the golden secrets. If you were to consume about half a cup of berries every day, it helps to reduce the CRP levels, that is an inflammatory marker in your body systems. If you were to consume green leafy vegetables at least 1 cup a day, be it any form, definitely not in the form of juices, especially the spinach juice is something that I don't recommend. But you can consume coriander, you can consume cucumber juice, anything that you consume in the form of vegetable juice is highly recommended in order to build that alkaline pH. Thirdly, you got to make sure that you consume nuts and try to ditch at least half a cup to 1 cup of milk and replace it with non-dairy milk, because when you consume non-dairy milk, you are creating a space of alkalinity with your soy milk, almond milk, peanut milk, and so on. So, a recap of key takeaways out here is the diet and environmental factors definitely impact aging, and there is no way that we can disregard these sections of important factors. Stress management is key towards anti-aging. One cannot be stressed and live a longer life. We all know that individuals in our environments, in our circles who have been laden with stress, they are the ones who tend to either commit suicide, or they are the ones who tend to have experience a lot of heart attack and health issues. Exercise and social connections improves longevity. I've already explained how it does, and I hope you all have gotten some pointers from this presentation. I will now call upon the audience to ask questions. And before that, just close your eyes for just about 10 seconds. Think of one action point that you think you are actually lacking, and pick it up from here, that yes, from today I will do this one particular thing. Maybe it is a very small step. It's just that including 10 minutes of exercise every day. It's just that you're starting your day on an alkaline note, not starting your day with a coffee. Anything that you can take away as a message and you will start implementing, please take note of that one new habit and start it from today. And we now open the floor for audience. Before that, you can take note of this QR code, that is my Instagram handle. You can feel free to connect with me on Instagram and on various social media platforms, where I keep sharing on a daily basis some of the other nutritional tips and understanding of human body and how we can support it with a good food and lifestyle. To conclude, I would like to say the food you choose can either be the safest form of medicine or the strongest form of poison. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for taking time out. And the session was very insightful, and we have a bunch of questions. So to
Okay.
start with, question number one is that we discuss about having protein. And you might understand, you might be aware that India is protein deficient.
Hmm.
So even if we are not exercising, is it still okay to consume protein powder?
That's a very good question. See, the whole idea, the best thing is that yes, we as Indians, we are aware that protein is essential. So one thing that is inbuilt, completely wired, we need to consume proteins. That's a fantastic idea. But do we need proteins to be added through an external source of protein powder? I don't agree to this fact that everybody needs protein powders in their daily routines. What you can do is start first and foremost. You need to know. So what happens is, for example, somebody goes to a doctor and they say that the doctor finds them, kind of weak, low on energy, and the doctor would say, just buy this protein powder. The very common ones are, okay, I can't label the brands, but there are some products out there which are cheaper. In the name of protein powder, they're just selling skim milk powder. Okay, and because they're just rebranding, adding a few more ingredients, it becomes a national hit. It's not something that's to be ideally promoted, but the doctors are doing that, right? As consumers, we go to a pharmacy and we just like the packaging and we pick it up. So in my opinion, if somebody really wants to go big on protein, first and foremost, get your current protein in your current diet evaluated. Understand where are you, what's your current status in your protein consumption. Is it compromised? If yes, if you're a healthcare professional, especially a dietitian, and actually you should reach out only to registered dietitians, because they have been trained to ethically work in hospitals and see the repercussions of advising very low calorie diets, which is not promoted in the name of weight loss, and somebody who has known that yes, consuming faulty ingredients, faulty foods can also land one into hospitals. So when you reach out to a healthcare professional to calculate your protein intake, and if it is deficient, ask the professional to increase it with the food only, primarily. Once the healthcare professional tries it, you do it with her or him, and you realize that okay, you're not able to make the alterations advised by the professional because maybe you don't have resources, or somebody to cook at home. You just don't have the time to, or you just don't like, say, for example, people don't like to eat dals. Somebody who doesn't like to eat non-vegetarian food, or they don't want to carry chickens and fish in their offices. So if there is some kind of a life issue wherein they cannot match up the protein intake directly through the diet, then the protein powder should come into play. And without calculations, without understanding of your current protein status, I would not recommend that people follow a high protein diet. It's not advisable. For somebody who is a 60 kg person, they can very well consume and be satisfied. Their body will function perfectly and beautifully if they were to consume 50 grams of proteins a day. That's nice enough. They need not consume, if they are 60 kgs, they need not consume 70 grams or 80 grams. And that's what is touted when they start going to the gym. The fitness trainers will tell them that you got to consume whey protein, you got to consume, because they have their own targets to achieve given by the gym, that you got to sell so many boxes of protein powder. So don't get caught up in those conversations. Ask them, how can I do it with the diet? Help me with that, rather than pushing the protein powder through me. So be intelligent consumers, and I think that should be good enough. If you have had a good sense of your protein intake, definitely you can understand where to go and how to choose your protein intake.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question with respect to your QR code. It seems it's not working. So could you just spell out your Insta handle name for the audience?
It's DIETIANUJJWALA.
Thank you. And the follow-up question is around the mindful eating versus, working lunches. So at corporate, we find people not able to take enough time out for their food. And how is that impacting their overall health and aging?
I've had a lot of corporate individuals coming to me, like CEOs, CXOs, and they just don't have the time. Now, how do you do that? Okay, and very importantly, at a ground level, very essentially, don't be dependent on the food that is there in the corporate canteens. Try to carry your own food. If you really cannot manage that, then try to reach out for certain ready to eat options that are healthier. Always stock in your bag. Now I'll give you two golden tips that I give to my clients who are into corporates and really struggle with mindful eating. When you know that you're going to land up into a meeting which is going to stretch, or you just don't know for how long the meeting will run, don't go on an empty stomach. You can stock on either sattu powder. Okay, you get sattu in the market very easily. What is it? Nothing but chana ka atta. We are not talking about besan. This we are talking about horse gram. That means bale ke andar jo chana aata hai, we are talking about that chana. Either you carry simply the chana, munch on it, or you can, as a conscious consumer in your pantries, in your office pantries, you can ask for chana, singdana, that is peanuts, makhanas, to be stocked instead of chocolates and candies, Mentos. Why do you want to keep Mentos on a in a conference room? So mindful eating starts from there. Make sure that you consume a lot of water. Instead of providing drinks which are flavored, offer them coconut water to the team. There are tons and tons, and thankful in India we have so many entrepreneurs out there with hundreds of snack options, good and clean snack options. Stock on them, do the research. If you all don't have an idea what to choose, everything seems to be like healthy from the front label, but eventually somebody comes and tells you, come on, yeah, this product is not healthy. Like I just mentioned one example. So then reach out to healthcare professionals, help them to fix your pantry, help them to fix your office canteens. So mindful eating starts from stocking right foods in your office, in your bags. Okay, never travel empty without any food or without any water. Always carry a small bottle of water. Always ensure that you have a box of dry snacks with you, which are as per the examples that I've shared. So it starts from there. Try to work on your office menus so that it is already fixed out there and you can look forward to it. For example, LinkedIn by itself has immense, it has a great spread of food items. Of course, not all the offices have those kind of budgets, but at ground level you can work on very cost effective ones. The brown chana is very cheap, it's not expensive. Why not stock on it? So ditch the candies, rather focus on these kind of options. That's where mindful eating can come in. And don't and avoid having meetings at lunch hours or dinner hours. Try not to go for meetings for lunch meets or dinner meets. Just tell your friend, or make it a routine, make it a pattern in your offices, that okay, let's catch up after lunch, let's catch up after the evening high tea, because that is the time when you have had your cup of tea, you're fresh now, and you can land up for another couple of hours of meeting. But don't go for a meeting when you're hungry and you're just waiting for the meeting to finish and then barge into food which you can't think of it mindfully.
Sure, ma'am. So we have multiple questions, and with that we have a little time less. So would request to take a quick take. I will just read out the questions.
Yeah.
Um, just give me a second. So the one question which has come across is that I have noticed that my fasting blood sugar levels range between 100 to 108, which falls within the pre-diabetic range. With
Sure.
post-meal readings are consistently normal below 110. If pre-diabetic, shouldn't post meals also be above 140? Wondering what could this be now. So I believe this person is measuring his sugar levels pre and post and probably being diagnosed pre-diabetic, but his post-meal sugar remains 110, not 140. So
Hmm.
he's asking where exactly his health lies.
See, so your blood reports of fasting sugars within the range that you have mentioned is definitely conclusive of pre-diabetes. You got to work on your diet and lifestyle for at least 3 months from the time of diagnosis of pre-diabetes. If you cannot manage to go control your sugars and get your fasting control lesser than 100, then you will be short diabetes in the future. First take is that. Second thing is why your postprandial is lesser in contrast to your fasting. Simply because maybe you're eating very controlled food. It's as simple as that. Why the fasting sugars are always checked? in contrast to the postprandial. Why the postprandial is never considered as a determined factor? Because a person can control their meals, eat very little, have a better control like how you do, and you can stay safe and tell yourself that okay, I'm not a diabetes person or a pre-diabetes person. But like I said, the cortisol levels are naturally high in the morning. So, in response to the cortisol levels and in response to the dynamics in the body systems, what is the fasting blood sugar that is naturally high? That's why we check the fasting blood sugars, and we cannot combat this whole idea of referring to fasting blood sugar. So, definitely there is a discrepancy in your meals, your breakfast and lunch. You're eating too little. That's the reason your postprandial is very controlled.
Understood. And the one question is, any alternatives to B12 and D3 vitamin tablet supplements? How can our body absorb it better?
Unfortunately, for vitamin D3, there's no like natural food source. You have to really expose yourself to the sun in the mornings. The best time is 8 to 10, but nowadays the sun is becoming very harsh. So 7 to 9 maximum. Beyond that, it can cause skin issues and skin related problems. So please make sure that you don't go expose your people. They have this habit of going for walks at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock because they feel that's the time they have. But please don't do that. Okay, and if you want to really do that, use a sunscreen. The next good time is 5 p.m. onwards. So try to wear very thin clothes in order to expose yourself and get the vitamin D3 naturally from the sun. However, like I said, there is no food source. So you will have to work on your calcium and magnesium also while you're taking the supplementation. If your vitamin D3 levels are low, you have to work in tangent with the other two nutrients in order to have a complete impact of the vitamin D3 in your system. For B12 deficiency, you got to work. So of course, I like in general, it is said that you go big on dairy, you go big on green leafy vegetables, and it does help in order to increase the B12 levels. However, in my opinion, if somebody is deficient, a quick fix of taking supplementation is not a problem at all, because staying in that zone of low levels can deteriorate your health and prevent absorption of certain other nutrients, and metabolic activities also suffer. So do not let your body suffer. I have seen blood reports wherein the an individual is aware that the vitamin D3 levels is around just 13 and 14, and they have still not popped up any kind of supplement. Why? Because they just feel it's a supplement. I don't want to take it. That's a wrong ideology. Fix your problems.
Understood, ma'am. One last question. So the question is around people have understood that starting your day with coffee is not recommended. But if given a choice, now there's a lot of correlation with the coffee and liver cleansing. So fatty liver and black coffee. So what do you recommend? Should individual should have if they want to have black coffee or coffee with milk is better, filter coffee, instant coffee, tea, black tea. So what do you recommend? They understand starting your day with coffee is not fine, but if in case they would still like to take any of this, what is recommended?
And you're asking in specifically in context to fatty liver, right?
No, there are actually not in context to fatty liver. In general, you could say, but probably you can touch upon fatty liver aspect as well.
Okay, first and foremost, we just need to make sure that the tea and caffeine are not 100% demons. They are good because they do have their own antioxidants, set of antioxidants, and the quality definitely matters. Okay, people are consuming green tea over the years, so consuming them is a very good idea, but keep in limit because they do also come with tannins, and they also are stimulants. Like I had already mentioned, tea and coffee both are stimulants for your brain. So when your brain wants to, so if somebody who has this sleepless night issues, who has insomnia, they are consuming teas and coffees at 4 p.m. They are loading themselves up by the evening, and there are individuals who consume 6 to 7 cups per day in the name of waking up. Not a good idea again, because whether it is black coffee, coffee with milk, eventually you have consumed caffeine, eventually you have consumed tannins through tea, and it is going to have a negative impact. So keep it to max about 2 to 3 cups of total tea and coffee per day. And if you want to really multiply the teas, you can go big on green tea if it doesn't cause acidity to you. If you really want to multiply the caffeine or the coffee in your day, try to go for decaffeinated coffee. Then it will be more compatible for your body systems rather than just not looking into the quality of your stuff. And coming to the fatty liver aspect, fatty liver, one thing that everybody needs to understand, fatty liver is going to be there as grade 1. Little fatty liver is always there. But why it increases? When it increases, especially when the cortisol levels go high, and secondly, when the food in abundance, like even the protein, if you are consuming a large amount of protein, it is going to get converted into extra fat inside the body and be stored in the liver. So the fitness trainers who are consuming, loading themselves up, they have also shown reports on gut health issues, gut inflammation, and they show high fatty livers. In fact, I have got about 10 fitness trainers who have reached out to me for their own diets, in spite of advising all this. Fatty liver is also a very clear indication that your body is consuming more calories than required, and that's where you got to start trimming your diet and then reach out for help.
Ma'am, thank you again for insightful session. We have overshoot our time for the day.
Yes,
So with this, we'll conclude. Thank you very
sure.
much for it.
I hope you all benefited from the event today. And if you all still have any doubts, feel free to drop me a DM. If I am able to answer in crisp, short, if it's a quick question, I can surely answer on Instagram or any of the other social media. It's not a problem. Thank you so much.